Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final video lecture. Next week, we will begin taking our final exams. So today, I'm going to explain the content of the exams, the format of the exams, and also how we can study to get a good score for the exam. Let's start with a basic outline of the final exam structure. Our final exams will be in two parts. The first final exam is the written exam. This will begin next week. The week after that, we will have our second exam, which is a speaking exam. In total, the final exams together are worth 40% of your final grade. The written exam, which is worth 20% of your final grade, will be calculated according to these points. First, the listening section will be graded out of 10 points. The vocabulary will be graded out of 15 points, and the grammar will be graded out of 15 points as well. This total out of 40 will be converted into 20% of your final grade. Then for our speaking exam, we are going to have a job interview on Zoom, and this will be scored out of 20 points. Then the score will be directly applied as 20% of your final grade. Now let's look at the exam dates. Next week, we will begin with the written exam. And the written exam will begin at our offline scheduled class hours. So if you are in my economics class, your written exam will be on Monday, and if you're in my graduate class, your exam will begin on Thursday at the beginning of our lecture time. Then, the following week, we will have our speaking exams. However, the exact time of the speaking exam will be discussed later in this video. During the exams, we will not have a Zoom review class together. So, we will not meet as a group on Zoom. Instead, your attendance will be taken when you complete the exam. However, if you do not take the exam, you will be considered absent. So don't forget, next week there is no Zoom class. Today is our very last Zoom class together. Please make sure you come on time and bring your questions for me. It will be our last chance to meet face to face and ask questions, get feedback on our speaking ability, and practice with a partner. All right. Now, which topics should you study for the final exam? Because we didn't have a midterm exam, we have a lot of topics to cover for the final exam. So, for your convenience, I decided to divide the different sections like this. The listening section will focus on the first half of the semester. So the listening will involve units 2, 4, and 6. Companies, great ideas, and entertaining. Then the vocabulary and grammar and other parts of our exam will focus on the second half of the semester. Unit 5, stress. Unit 10, managing people. And Unit 12, products. This way, we cover a little bit of everything that we learned this semester. Now let's focus on the written exam first. This exam will start next week. So let's dive into the details so you can prepare for this exam. So the written exam will be on ClassMarker. Just like the attendance quiz, you simply log on to ClassMarker and take the exam. However, the final exam will take place within a very short time period. It will begin at the start of our offline class hours. So for economics, you will begin on Monday at 2 p.m. And for my graduate class, you will begin on Thursday at 2 p.m. Make sure that you start the exam on time because this exam will be available for 1 hour only. After 1 hour, the exam will close, even if you are not finished. If you are unfinished, then those questions will be empty and they will be considered wrong or incomplete. This is to simulate a real-life exam environment. So, just like in a real class, if the bell rings and you are not finished, the professor will collect your exam. So, please arrive to your online exam on time and finish before 1 hour is over. You cannot retake the final exam. This is a real exam, not a practice quiz. However, if you have a medical reason for missing the class, you can submit your doctor's note and excuse note cover sheet to have an excused absence. After your documents are approved, we can schedule a makeup test for you. Okay, but please contact me beforehand or as soon as possible if this is the case. Now let's zone in on the listening section of next week's exam. As I said, the listening part will focus on Units 2, 4, and 6. In the exam, you will listen to 2 different audio files, which we have listened to before, and each of these listening files will be accompanied by 5 questions. 2 listening files with 5 questions each makes a total of 10 points. Questions that might be included in the listening section might be gap fill, true or false, multiple choice, or another type of question. To help you prepare for this final exam, I will upload the audio files and scripts to YSEC. Next, the vocabulary. As I said before, vocabulary and grammar will focus on the rest of the semester, so Units 5, 10, and 12. Vocabulary will include definition matching, multiple choice, gap fill, choose the correct word, or other similar types of questions. Grammar will follow a similar pattern as well. So it can include gap fill, multiple choice, correct the sentence, complete the verb, etc. Now for the speaking exam dates. As you know, our speaking exam will be a job interview conducted on Zoom. Please take a look at your course code and check the date of your speaking exam. The speaking exam will begin the week after next. So, how are we going to conduct the speaking exam? It will be a Zoom interview with me, your professor. So, it will be a 5-minute Zoom call. You will be asked job interview questions based on the Week 10 lecture. You will interview for the dream job that you chose in the job interview question prep homework. If you have not submitted this homework, then I will choose a random job title for you. Or please contact me. You can download the list of interview questions on YSEC. So, how about the speaking exam process? It's pretty simple. First, you must log into Zoom and start the call at the scheduled time. We will discuss the interview schedules soon. So, arrive to Zoom and start the call at the appropriate time. Then, the student will choose a question randomly. So all of the questions that we have studied in our lecture will be shown on, as cards that are hidden. So you will pick one question randomly, then you will answer the question appropriately, and then repeat this process one more time. In total, you will answer 2 questions. Then, to conclude the interview, I want you to ask me, the recruiter, a question. And you can take a look at the interview question prep worksheet for some examples of questions that you can ask a hiring recruiter. So let's take a look at this process again with visual aids. First, we begin the Zoom call with you and me, just 2 people in the Zoom call. You will see the cards face down, and each of these cards will contain one of the job interview questions. The student will pick a question randomly. I will read the question to the student. Why are you interested in this position? The student will give an appropriate answer. Then, the student will pick another question, and I will read the question. What is your biggest weakness? Again, the student will give their answer. Then, to conclude the interview, the student will ask me a question. What is the work style of this company? After I give a brief answer, we will conclude the interview, and that's it. In total, we should complete this interview within 5 minutes. So, for your convenience, here are the job interview questions again. We have 5 of the most popular job interview questions, and as we learned in our lecture, there are certain sentence structures that we can use to answer these questions. Of course, you can review the video lecture. It was week 10. Review the video lecture to see these sentence structures in more detail and to see an example answer for each question. You can also download a list of these questions from YSEC. So, what needs to be included in your answer to get a good score? And this needs to be included for each answer. You will answer 2 questions, so you will give 2 answers. First of all, we should try to use the sentence structures that we learned for each question. Then, I would like you to answer with at least 2 details. By including 2 details, we can create a more complex answer that is more interesting and gives more information to the recruiter. Then, incorporate at least 1 grammar point from the textbook, and you can choose any one. For your convenience, here is a list of all of the grammar points that we learned this semester. Present simple and continuous, past simple and continuous, multi-word verbs, past simple and present perfect, reported speech, and passive voice. So, whichever grammar point is the most appropriate for your question, please use at least one example of that. Okay, next. The speaking exam rubric. I will use this rubric to calculate your speaking exam score. As you can see, it adds up to a total of 20 points. So first, presentation. Presentation is your paralanguage, your body language, eye contact, confidence, and pauses or hesitation. Next is vocabulary. Did you use appropriate vocabulary? And did you use it correctly? Grammar, same thing. Did you use grammar appropriately and was it correct? Pronunciation. Am I able to understand what you're saying? Did you use a natural tone or did you speak like a robot? One important thing about this speaking exam is this. Please do not read from your notebook during this exam. For this reason, you must have the camera on so that I can observe your body language and behavior. If I see your eyes reading the script, maybe behind the camera or below the camera, then that will affect your presentation and intonation. So try to remember the key points of your answer and have a natural conversation with me. The more natural your speech, the better your score will be. Okay, so please, cameras on and don't read. And finally, the last part of our speaking exam rubric is the content. Did your answer relate to the question and did it include at least 2 details? You can find a copy of the exam outline with this rubric on YSEC. I will also upload this PowerPoint so that you can review everything I've discussed in your own time. Now, how to book an appointment for our speaking exam. If you go on YSEC, you can open this poll, Speaking Exam Appointments. Next to the title, you will see the date of your speaking exam. So this is a sample from my Monday class, but on Thursday, your date will change. So open the poll on YSEC. Then you are going to choose the speaking exam appointment that works for you. Choose the time that you want. However, please, only one student per time slot. We have to interview one at a time. So each student must choose a different time. Once you've made your choice, you cannot change it. So make sure you choose well and that you remember the time that you picked. You can view the results of the poll after you submit your response. Okay. If you are late for your speaking exam, it can impact other students who are waiting in line for their interview. So please come to your interview appointment on time. When you arrive in the Zoom meeting, there will be a waiting room, and you can wait there until your turn. If you are late for the speaking exam, you can take your exam at the end. So you must wait until all of the other students are finished, and then you will take your interview last. If this happens, you will lose 50% of your speaking exam score. So please come on time or come early, which is even better. Then wait in the waiting room until it's your turn for the speaking exam. Okay, now today we do have some work that we need to do. According to our syllabus, today we are scheduled for a review of Units 5, 10, and 12, and test number 2. So let's begin with the review. And this test will be this week's participation work. Okay, let's review Units 5, 10, and 12. Stress, Managing People, and Products. First, let's review the general topics. In Unit 5, we learned about stress. We learned about the causes of work stress, the ways that companies can reduce stress, and in our office culture moment, we discussed how to organize your workspace to reduce stress and make you feel happy at work. Then in Unit 10, we learned about managing people. We talked about the 4 different management styles and intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. We also talked about the impact of management styles on staff. Then, in our office culture moment, we discussed how to give constructive criticism. And as homework, we practice applying the different management models to different employees. Then in Unit 12, we talked about products. We talked about different types of products, the product lifestyle from design all the way to manufacture and distribution and retirement. Then we talked about successful products and products that failed, or as we call them, product flops. Then in our office culture moment, we talked about personal flops and how to recover from a mistake at work by giving a positive apology. And here you can see this demonstration of a positive apology. Thank you for your patience. All right, now that we remember the general ideas of these lectures, let's dive into the first unit, Unit 5, Stress. Let's look at the vocabulary. Here we see 3 different people who are living different lives. The way people choose to organize their lives is called their lifestyle. Here we have an athletic lifestyle, an academic lifestyle, and a family lifestyle. Next. Look at this person. Does she look familiar? Someone who cannot stop working and who has no time for anything else is a workaholic, someone addicted to work. Next, the amount of work a person is expected to do is called the workload. And this is a good question to ask about in your job interview. What is the workload at this job? Next, this might be a familiar sight, especially at this time of the semester. The time or date by which you have to do something is called a deadline or a due date. Next, a system where employees choose the time they start work each day is called a flexi time. So this was one of the techniques that was mentioned. We can use this system to relieve stress that is felt by employees. Next, life and work. The ability to give a good amount of time to work and to other interests is called work-life balance. Next, how does this person feel? How personally satisfied you are with the way you live and work is called quality of life. Do you think you have a good quality of life or a poor quality of life? Next, look at all these people and look at this office. The people, things, and atmosphere around you at work are called the work environment. Now let's talk about the listening part of this unit. In this audio file, we listened to Jessica Calling, the Director of Marketing at ViLife. In this audio, she discusses the different causes of stress and the importance of work-life balance. She discussed methods of reducing employee stress. Then in the reading section, the reading compared the stress levels felt by business leaders in different countries. The article listed the 4 major causes of workplace stress. And you may remember all of the different countries that were mentioned in this reading. Now the grammar review. You can see 2 examples of sentences that use the grammar from this unit. I spoke to her yesterday. I have been to London twice. First, we have the past simple. I spoke to her yesterday. We use the past simple to talk about completed actions in the past. Next, the present perfect. Present perfect is used to connect the past to the present, and there are 3 ways that we can do that. 1, to talk about life experiences. 2, to talk about recent news. And 3, to talk about things that still affect us now. Next, Unit 10, Managing People. In this unit, we discussed verb and proposition combinations. And these verbs and prepositions were used to describe skills or qualities. Please take a look at the verbs that we learned. Respond, listen, deal, believe, delegate, communicate, and invest. Take a moment to match the verbs with the preposition. Can you remember them all? When you come back, we'll check your answers. Let's check your answers. Number 1, we respond to something. We listen to someone or something. We deal with a problem. We believe in a person. We delegate to someone. We communicate with someone. And we invest in someone or something. Very good. Now, in this listening section, we listened to the words of Lori Mullins, who is the author of Management and Organizational Behavior. She discussed the management techniques used by different managers. She stated that the communication, visibility, and respect for staff are crucial for good management. Then in our reading, we compared 2 women, Ruby and Geraldine, who described their work environment at their respective companies. Each company followed a different management philosophy, which affected the staff in different ways. By reading and comparing the 2, we came to conclusions about which management techniques were effective and which management techniques were counterproductive. Now the grammar review. Let's move the camera here. So, in this unit, we learned about reported speech. We use reported speech to indirectly repeat what someone said. And there are 2 important parts of reported speech. There's reporting something that is recently said and something that was said in the past. If it was recently said, we use the same verb tense. And we use this situation to illustrate that. So, this assistant is reporting what was said by this executive. Susan just called and said she wants to discuss the report. This is the same verb tense as Susan used. I want, present simple. She wants, present simple. They are the same verb tense. However, if you report speech that was said in the past, the verb goes back 1/10, and the nouns and pronouns may change. So, yesterday, this man said, "The report is ready." Now the executive is reporting his speech. "Yesterday, you told me that the report was ready." Is present simple, was past simple. So the verb goes back 1/10. Now let's look at Unit 12. In Unit 12, we had two parts to the vocabulary. The first part, we looked at adjectives that describe products. So we had a list of adjectives, and then we asked you to associate each adjective with a different product. Please take out your notebook and do this exercise now. When you come back, we'll move on to the next part of our vocabulary. The next part of our vocabulary in Unit 12 included these verbs. These are verbs that are used to describe the product life cycle. In other words, the process of designing, creating, and selling a product. Can you remember what these verbs mean? Take a moment to match the vocabulary. When you come back, we'll check your answers. Let's check your answers. Number 1, launch, to introduce a product to the market. Test, to try something and see how it works. Promote, to increase sales by advertising. Manufacture, to build or make. Modify, to change in order to improve. Discontinue, to stop making. Design, to make a plan or drawing. And distribute, to supply to the shops or companies. Okay, so we described the qualities of our products using adjectives, and we described the process of making the products using verbs. Then in the listening section, we listened to James Wallman. James Wallman is editor of LSN, a news network which follows trends and innovation in the retail and technology sectors. He discussed his favorite products and which products he expects to see in the future. He also had some wise advice about how to create a successful product. Then our grammar point. Maybe you remember this little scenario. We have two people, one who is a killer and one who is a victim. To talk about the killer, we use something called the active voice. John killed Michael. But to talk about the victim, we use passive. Michael was killed by John. In other words, we use the passive voice or passive to talk about objects or people who experience an action. And to make the passive voice, we need a be verb and the past participle. The be verb can be in any verb tense, present, past, past perfect, anything. The past participle will always be the past participle. All right, so today for your participation work, please go to ClassMarker and take test number 2. This test is worth 5% of your class grade, and you must have the listening files ready to answer the questions on this test. This test is available for 1 week. However, once you start the test, there is a 1-hour time limit. Also, you can only take this test once. This is a real test, not a practice quiz. So remember, once you click and begin, there is a 1 hour time limit. So make sure you are ready to sit down for 1 hour. Also, please don't forget that today we have our final Zoom conference. So please join Zoom today for your attendance point and bring your questions about the final exam or the class in general. Okay, good luck with your test number 2, and I'll see you in our final Zoom session. Good luck, everyone, and see you soon.